Welcome back, everyone! This is Geronitis bringing you Feed the Beast 1710. Today we are starting on episode 11. And I'm going to start this episode by making a capacitor bank. Because I want some more power storage. Because power storage. To make the capacitor bank, I'm going to need some double layer capacitors, which I used most of to upgrade my capacitors to octadic capacitors last episode, so we'll have to make some more of these. More of these are going to require coal powder, more coal. Wow, we are. I'm noticing that between Botania and Ender IO, I am burning through coal faster than I can dig it out of the earth. I have an idea of what to do about that, and we're going to look into that next episode probably. But this episode, I have a more pressing issue. But we're going to start out with making a capacitor bank. Okay, so energetic alloy, coal powder, and basic capacitors. I am making energetic alloy over here rather rapidly thanks to the octadic upgrade that we got. Very nice. And we are going to be getting some more coal powder. There's some right there. And let's see, energetic. There we go. And of course the basic capacitors. So we should be able to go ahead and ramp these up. Sweet. Alright, so there we go. Add those to the ones we already have. We now have 21 of those capacitors, so we can go ahead and make the capacitor bank. We need some blocks of redstone and some electrical steel. I was going to make this last time, but we didn't have the stuff to make the electrical steel. So it's iron, coal powder, and silicon. Now, one of the things that I will make note of is when you are trying to make silicon, there's a couple ways to make it. For starters, you can grind redstone ore, which is not that easy to come by. You can also put in the sag mill, just normal sand, and you have a 50% chance of getting one piece of silicon. The other way is to take a block of clay, and you have an 80% chance of getting silicon that way. Plus, you have a good chance of getting 2 to 3 clay, 2 for certain, a third one with a 10% chance. But when you're using the extra stuff like I like to use, you have a much better chance. So I've got some clay here. We're going to go ahead and grind this clay into, or we're going to turn this clay into blocks. And then we're going to toss the clay in the sag mill. Now, I did this a minute ago, and it actually works out rather nicely. You get the stuff, so you just doubled it right there because we're using up the dark steel balls that we made. And this is going to get us plenty of silicone. So while it's doing that, and by the way, we actually, where's the clay going? No, 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 stop, stop. You know, that's one of the few times I've actually had a problem with this thing cooking stuff that I don't want it to cook. I don't want bricks. You know, stop. Okay, just stop. Okay, well, at least that was quick. Let's switch this back. I can't believe I did that. Oh well, no big deal. We can always get more clay, and if we can't get more clay, we can always look for more clay and get more clay. And yes, I just repeated myself. Get over it. Alright, so we should now have, there we go, we got a stack of silicone, a stack of coal powder. I grinded the coal powder beforehand, that way we can have this here. And of course we got the silicone out of that. So now we just need some iron, which thankfully, due to my particular upgrades that I've been giving my tools, we have been going through that rather nicely. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a capacitor bank. We're going to need, you know what, let's make a couple capacitor banks. Why not? It's going to show you a nice feature of the capacitor banks that I'm going to enjoy showing off. Let's get some redstone and make some redstone blocks. And haha, you guys didn't beat on my door, so you didn't get a swift and merciful death. You get to stand out there and burn in the sun. Let's make 4. I think I can afford 4 of them, right? 4, 8, 12, 16, yeah. So we should be able to do that. And the electrical steel should be arriving over here, no problem. The electrical steel should be arriving over here, no problem. Why don't I see it? Ah, there it is. No, we don't quite have enough yet, but that's okay, we'll get it done. Let's make what we've got. And we now have 2 capacitor banks. Okay, I really want to make 4. Give me some more electrical steel, will you? 4 will actually look better in the grand scheme of things, and I'll show you why here in just a second. We got 3 so far. The capacitor bank holds 5 million RF, okay? If you hold shift, it says that it's a multi-block energy storage and can charge RF powered items. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put this over here. Now, let's see, where did I put that? Put that up. That can go away for now. There's the wrench. All right, so now while we're holding the wrench, if you remember, we actually have the power lines run through this way, okay? So since there's a power line here already, even though we can't see it while we're holding this, if we place this here, it is now in the power line. Okay, and here you can see that you can set the max input and output. You can type in whatever you want for that. These slots right here are used for charging items, and of course you can actually choose to have this whether it takes in with redstone, without redstone, and so on. Okay, and always active and so on. So you can select when it does and does not give off power. All right, so we're just gonna be storing extra power here. That way it can go ahead and have large amounts of power. Now, as you saw last time, we actually were burning through power faster than we were making it, so we want to be able to have this for that purpose. Now, as you can see here, it's got the bar showing the 5 million RF. Now, the fun part about these is that they actually are multi-block structures. So when you add another one, it automatically combines the two, and now we have a max input of 10,000 and a max output of 10,000 and a storage capacity of 10 million. So it just adds it on. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and place the third one on here, and now we have 15,000 and 15 million and so on. We can also configure this thing to where we can have it putting power in, out, or whatever if it's sitting next to something. On the front here, you also have this red gauge. This red gauge will get fuller over time as it fills up with power. So we can actually see it here on Wayla, but if Wayla didn't exist, which Wayla is what am I looking at, and that's the big blue box at the top that's telling you all this stuff, it tells you there, but even if it didn't, you got this nifty little red bar. So, you know what, I actually kind of like that being 3 tall. Maybe I don't want extras. Yeah, we'll just leave we'll have some extra electrical steel, but I'll use it. I'm sure I'll have some use for it somewhere down the line. Alright, cool. So let's toss some of this stuff away, and now that we have that going, we are good to go there. So the other thing, like I said when I started, needing coal, because right now, I did some mining, and we've got, 27 blocks of coal, which is actually a good bit. However, that's not going to last us all that long considering. Now, we've gone through I'd say we've gone through 150 blocks of coal at this point, and our mana pools are not even 3/4 of the way full. And like I said, we're going to need a lot of mana later. Like, this is the beginnings of mana, but we're going to need so much more. Now, we can increase the speed that we create the mana, but it's still going to eat through coal. And there are other ways to create mana, but we'll get into those down the line when we get back into Botania, when we're ready to move forward. For now, we need to keep building infrastructure. All right, so the thing that I'm running into right now that's a problem is this. A couple episodes back when I was doing my mining, you saw that we had a little bit of excess cobblestone. We even had to put it in the random blocks chest just because we had so much that the barrel was full. Okay, since then I've created another barrel because the random blocks chest was getting too full, and now this barrel is getting too full. Okay, so now obviously we can just void the cobblestone. We can just, we can throw it in the trash can or whatever. But there's actually going to be a use for excessive amounts of cobblestone. Okay? For now, we're just going to go ahead and do something with this cobblestone because down the line it will become useful. One of the things we can do is we can compress the cobblestone. Okay? The mod Extra Utilities adds the compressed cobblestone bricks. Okay? So basically you take cobblestone, you put it in a grid, the full crafting grid, and it basically takes 9 cobblestone and turns it into 1 cobblestone that is compressed, and it is worth 9 cobblestone. Okay, but then you can compress it to double, in which case you take 9 of the single compressed cobblestones and make 1 block of double compressed, and that's 81 cobblestone in a single block. And it continues to progress to triple, quadruple, quintuple, sextuple, septuple, and octuple. Octuple is 49,046,721 cobblestone. So, and that's in a single block. So you can very easily hold a ton of cobblestone in not a whole lot of space. So we can actually take this particular stuff and break it down to probably 1 or 2 blocks, depending on whether it falls even or not, okay? So you might ask yourself, why bother, okay? Why bother? So the reasoning is this. Octuple compressed cobblestone has a couple of things. We push U while we hover over this, and it shows us that it has a possible use, okay? Obviously, you can take the octuple and break it back down into 9 septuple, but instead of doing that, we can also cook the octuple compressed cobblestone, and it creates a thing called bedrockium, or a block of bedrockium. Okay, bedrockium is a very advanced thing. Obviously, it takes 43 million cobblestone to make bedrockium. But bedrockium has several uses of its own. No, we're not making. Yeah, we'll make facades of it. That seems like a good idea. A cable facade bedrockium. That's a bit of expensive a facade, if you ask me, but that's okay. All right, so we can actually turn it into 9 ingots of bedrockium, and the ingots of bedrockium can be used first off to make a hyper energy transfer node. That'll be something that we're gonna want later on, like a long way later on when we get into some really, really expensive power systems. Another thing it can be used for is a bedrockium drum. As you guys remember, we had the drum over here that holds 256 buckets of any kind of liquid. In this case, we had it for lava. And we're going to have to do something about getting more lava because we can't be out of lava. Well, we can, and we are, but we don't want to be. So we'll get back to that too. So anyway, we can make this into this, is this. All right, so we can also make the bedrockium drum, which will hold, instead of 256 buckets like a normal drum, it holds 65,536 buckets. That's a lot of buckets. And then the other thing that we can use it for is a reinforced watering can, which is an amazing, and I mean truly amazing thing to have. Okay, it's basically like the normal extra utilities watering can, only it waters a very large area, makes plants and stuff grow a lot faster. I mean, like a lot faster. And you can actually put it into a machine and have it automatically do the watering for you, and it lets you instantly grow, well, not instantly, but very quickly grow a lot of different things. The problem is that getting bedrockium is actually incredibly difficult to do. A single ingot of bedrockium is a block of diamond, 4 quadruple compressed cobblestones, and 4 triple compressed cobblestones, and that gets you 1. And 1 bedrockium ingot really isn't used for very much. So just to give you that an idea. So we're going to go ahead and be compressing our cobblestone because we don't need to have it stored up, but we don't want to get rid of it either because this actually is useful. Okay, so to compress this cobblestone, what we're going to do is we're going to take the cobblestone out. We're going to go over to this crafting station, and we're just going to go ahead and fill it in the crafting grid. And yay! Now we're going to repeat this process about 10,000 times, and then we'll have compressed it all into... Okay, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Because, obviously, we don't want to do that by hand. Who wants to do anything like that by hand? We don't. So, we're going to do it in a really cool automated way. Now, there are several possible ways we can do this, and I'm really considering doing it... Well, there's actually 2 different ways I'm seriously considering. There's actually probably 4 or 5 different ways I can do it. But I think we're going to go ahead and do it probably the fastest way. And yeah, why not? We're going to go ahead and get into a new mod. It's going to be a very basic version of this mod, but it's actually a really good thing to start out basic because this mod can get very complicated. We're getting started in Steve's Factory Manager, if NEI will let me. If NEI will let me. Give me a second for this thing to start working. Alright, it finally let me see Steve's Factory Manager. For some reason, sometimes NEI hangs up in this version. I don't know what the deal is or why, but it does. And so, yeah, sometimes you just gotta give it a minute and it'll finally pop in. Steve's Factory Manager is actually a very small mod. It is probably one of the most powerful small mods there is. Okay, there are literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17 blocks in all of Steve's Factory Manager. Okay, That being said, being a small mod, it is one of the most powerful mods if you really know how to use it. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not very good with it yet. But I do know enough to make this. And the reason I know enough to make this is because I only have to make a single block. And that's going to be the Machine Inventory Manager. This is the most basic block from Steve's Factory Manager, and it's going to do us quite a bit of good. We're going to need 5 iron ingots, a block of redstone, a piston, and 2 smooth stone, which is actually a very, very small cost considering what we're going to be doing with it and all of the possible things that can be done with it. This particular mod can actually be used to do pretty much anything in the game, okay? As long as you know how to program it correctly, you can do pretty much all of it. Yep. Oh, cool. I have 1 block left over from before. Sweet. All right. So this is the basic piece, okay? This is the Machine Inventory Manager, okay? Now, when I say you can do anything with this, I mean, I could spend a long time explaining to you just what I know about it and barely scratch the surface. So instead of going into a large detailed thing, I'm just going to show you how we're going to use this to take care of our cobblestone situation right off the top, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want a better chest. I don't want a wooden chest. I want cores and ingots, hello. I want to upgrade this to a golden chest because I want it to be able to hold as much as I want it to hold. So let's go ahead and upgrade this chest real quick. And there's actually another reason I want to upgrade this chest, and I'll explain it to you here in a minute. It's going to make it easier to deal with Steve's Factory Manager to do it this way. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and right here seems like, well, making that right there. That's piston right there. Actually, that'll work just nicely. What we're going to do is we're going to take that, we're going to place it, we're going to put the gold chest right here, and then we're going to grab our dolly. Well, we don't need to use a diamond dolly. We're going to grab the dolly, and we're going to grab this barrel of cobblestone. Okay? So now we have this barrel of cobblestone over here. Alright? So when we right-click on the Machine Inventory Manager, it brings up this amazingly complex-looking system. Okay? All these different things are different commands. Okay? If anybody's done anything with turtles and have programmed turtles to do certain things, then this works a lot like a turtle, only instead of typing it in, you basically connect the puzzle pieces together and make something that's going to function. So let me give you a basic explanation of this, and we'll see if we can't make this work. Now, keep in mind, I did say I was a little bit rusty with this. Well, not necessarily. You can't be rusty if you were never really good with it to begin with. So I have a basic knowledge of how this is going to work, and we're just going to go ahead and work it. All right? So the first thing you want to do is to create a trigger. Okay? A trigger is basically a piece that tells the system when to do something, okay? So, by the way, if you click on the little corner box right here, you can move these things around, place them wherever you want to. I'm going to place this one up over here because this is going to be a fairly large system that we're going to make here, okay? The trigger, when you click on this open tab, it basically says what you're going to be doing. With the trigger, you have an interval. The interval basically is the amount of time that passes in between the times, in between when the triggers happen. So basically this is saying that every 1 second it does the trigger and basically tries to do something every 1 second, okay? The connections is when it's on interval, which is using the actual time frame that you've gotten here. You can use a redstone control, so that means if you use a redstone control, then it's going to open up this entire huge thing. Oh my god, that's big. Basically, you can make it so that when it receives a redstone signal, it does it. When it loses a redstone signal, it does it. Whether it's a analog or digital redstone, and oh my god, it just goes on and on and on. For my purposes, I'm just going to stay with the basic on interval. You can do it with the block update so that when a block updates, it triggers it. For our purposes, we're just going to use the timer for on interval, okay? And let's close that back down. It can get extremely complicated if you let it. If you get really good with it, you can do, like I said, almost anything you want with this mod. Okay, so basically we're going to start with a trigger of every 1 second. So every 1 second it's going to try to do something. Well, what's it going to try to do? we're going to have it do an autocraft. Okay, so basically what we have here is we connect these two by clicking here. You click this box and connect it to here. So that is connecting this trigger to this conditional. Well, it's not conditional, to this action. Okay, so now it's saying every 1 second it's going to try to do what this thing says. Now this thing has the exclamation point right here, and when you mouse over it, it says the whitelist is empty, no excess inventory selected. Okay, basically it's saying, hey, I don't have what I need to work here. So because we just connected it and we haven't told it what to do yet, then it doesn't know what to do when it's triggered. So right now, every 1 second, this trigger is saying, hey, do something. And this thing's sitting there going, I don't know what to do. So we need to give it something to do. Okay, so we're basically going to go into the crafting section, and we're going to give this thing a crafting recipe. So we're going to say cobblestone, 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 cobblestone. You're getting the hint here, cobblestone, cobblestone. Okay, so by having these, we have basically the crafting recipe for 1 compressed cobblestone. Okay, and let's see. Yeah. All right, so now it's saying, hey, when I get a signal, we're going to craft compressed cobblestone. Okay, now it has to be able to get the normal cobblestone from somewhere, and it has to be able to put the cobblestone that's crafting somewhere as well. Okay, so that takes care of what it's going to craft. Priority is move before crafting, craft before moving. I'm trying to remember what exactly that means. Move before crafting, craft before moving. Yeah, craft and then move the thing that you crafted afterwards. Excess inventories is basically what it's going to say is if you have anything excess, you need an inventory to put it in. So like in this case, if it's not going to have any excess in this case, but what it wants to know is if you were going to be crafting something with a bucket of water, okay, and you gave it a bucket of water, when it crafts it, it is left with an empty bucket. It's like, well, if I have an empty bucket left, what am I supposed to do with it? Okay, and that is what the excess inventory is for. We're going to give it the gold chest, okay, which, by the way, it detects what's around it. So it sees that the barrel is on the left and that the gold chest is on the right. So we're going to give it the excess inventory, which is the gold chest, okay? And that should be good there. So now it's basically saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and every 1 second I'm going to craft a piece. Now, of course, because I'm a genius, I messed this up. Okay, because it has the trigger, every 1 second it's going to be commanded to do this crafting. But the problem is that it says, okay, I'm crafting, but it doesn't have any items. So we need to create an input. Okay, the input is basically telling it where to get items from. Okay, so when we go into the input, we're going to say, hey, your input inventory is going to be this better barrel. Okay. And as long as that better barrel is selected, we want to target a side of the barrel. It doesn't really matter what side, because when it comes to better barrels, you can take stuff from any side. However, if you don't select a side, nothing will work. So we're just going to say down in this case, because it doesn't really matter. Okay, then we click activate, and that activates the down side. Okay, the items is going to have, you know what, we're just going to do a empty blacklist. Okay, normally you would want to say, hey, you're going to pull items out of this particular thing, and you know, if it was a chest that had 10,000 different things in it, not literally 10,000, but a bunch of different things in it, then you would want to tell it, hey, only use these items to craft with, or only use these items are allowed to be input into this. Okay, in this case, it's pulling from a barrel. The barrel can only hold one type of item anyway, and in this case, since that's, you know, since we can only have cobblestone, I can put whitelist and choose cobblestone by clicking here and typing in cobble. Okay, and I can say, there we go, cobblestone is the whitelist. Or in this case, I'm just going to do an empty blacklist because it doesn't really matter. Nothing has to be done. So, oh no, yeah. Okay, that's stop. No, right click. No. How do I just get that off of there? It's not letting me. Okay, well, in that case, fine. We'll just... There. Okay, it's supposed to be an empty blacklist. And I want this to be removed. Oh, duh. I saw it right there and I just looked past it. Anyway, you right-click on it and you can click delete. And we can get into further stuff in that case. So empty blacklist is now the input. Okay, so the input is now that. All right, so we trigger this, and then we trigger the crafter. Okay, so now it's capable of pulling from there and crafting every second. Okay, but now it's like, well, I would do that, but I have nowhere to put the item that I crafted. So now we have to create an output. Okay, so then the output is going to be the golden chest. Okay, and that will be fine. The targeted space, we're going to go with, it doesn't matter because items can go into any side of the chest again, so we'll just choose down just because. Okay, and in this case, items that are allowed to go into the output, we're going to stick with the empty blacklist because that way you can just take anything. Alright, so now when we connect these, it should start crafting. And look at that, the barrel stuff is starting to go down. Okay, and we are compressing cobblestone. How awesome is that? Now, I'm going to shift right click this barrel, and that should lock it. See a little lock up here there? So when it finishes taking all of the cobblestone out of this barrel, it will save this barrel. It will remember that it has cobblestone in it, okay? So that means that once it gets empty, then it'll still work just fine, okay? So yeah, we are now officially compressing our cobblestone. Okay, now this is still leaving quite a bit of cobblestone here. I mean, compressed cobblestone is good and all, but it's still going to wind up with a lot of excess cobblestone. Why do we have cobblestone showing up here? We shouldn't. It should be compressing it all down, not... Oh, because it's pulling a stack at a time, and a stack does not evenly compress. If you do 9 times whatever it is we're burning through, so it's pulling a stack out at a time. I hadn't considered that possibility. And we still wound up with 64 over here that we can then put back over here. It pulled it back out, and we still have 1 excess cobblestone. Okay, so maybe that's not going to be the best way to do this. Let's see. Well, for the moment, let's just go ahead, and just because I want to do it this way, we're going to empty this barrel out and go dump its contents over here. Alright, and there we go. So it is compressing the cobblestone down. Alright, so the other thing we can do is we can actually go in here and we can change the input. Because we're putting excess cobblestone in here, see we're building up cobblestone in here, we can change the input on here and we can target the inventory to also include the golden chest. Okay, so now since we're also including the golden chest, any excess cobble that winds up over here, every time it reaches 9, it goes ahead and pulls it out. Okay, so now we have cobble being compressed both ways. Okay, so we can easily dump cobblestone in here every time we come back from mining or something and we have cobblestone in our inventory. All we gotta do is hold right click right here and it will automatically pull it all out of our inventory. Then it will be pulled from here, crafted in here, compressed over, and any excess that's left over that's stuck over here, what is it doing? Why is it doing that? Okay, I don't understand why it's constantly acting. What is it doing exactly? I think we need to change this. I think that's what's going on. It's moving constantly. No, it's still doing that. I don't know why it's doing that. right? It's not supposed to be doing that, and I don't know why it is. Hmm. Well, that's interesting. All right, so anyway, before we close this episode, I'm going to take it one step further. Okay, we're going to go ahead and on the same trigger, let's see, I need to do a multi-trigger. No, let's see, on the same trigger, I know there's a way to make the same trigger activate multiple times. Connections on interval is fine. Let's see, I need to figure it out. Where is it? Or can I just, no, it would just still be the same thing. Actually, I should be able to just go ahead and create another input. Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing wrong. We need to create another input, another output, and another crafter. And I think this will technically work. Let me put this together real quick, and I'll be right back to make sure this is going to function correctly. Alrighty, we're back. I've got this figured out. By the way, just so you know, when the items were dancing in and out and changing like that, the problem was that the input actually does need to be changed. With the input items having a empty blacklist, it was pulling items in, trying to do something with them, realizing that it couldn't, and then putting them back. So by changing it to the whitelist of Cobblestone, it then stops trying to pull in stuff that didn't belong there. Okay, so those dancing items just don't need to happen, and the only reason they were is because I didn't do it correctly there. Okay, so now all of the inputs I have changed to have the whitelist of the item that it's going to use to craft. Okay, so as you can see here, I went ahead and made it go ahead and craft from cobblestone to compressed cobblestone to double compressed cobblestone. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and switch this over. Now I've changed the inputs, just the golden chest. Okay, so the golden chest is going to be used for input and output up until now. The barrel is here just so it's easy to empty my inventory of cobblestone when I come back from mining. Okay, now past that, we're going to go ahead and compress this even further. Not that the chest is getting full or anything, but we're going to want to compress it all the way down to octuple eventually anyway. So we're going to go ahead and just because I can and we're at the end of the episode, we're going to go ahead and have it do one more. Okay, so here I've changed the crafting. We're crafting triple compressed cobblestone, okay, out of double compressed cobblestone. As you see, I have actually made the input showing that the item is whitelisted double compressed cobblestone, and then the output is going to be let's just take that off of there for now. We're going to change the output inventory to the gold chest again, tell it to target down, and the items now going in here, it can be an empty blacklist because it's just going to take out what it's got and put it in there. Okay, the input's the only one that really matters there. So as you can see, we have a stack plus 22 of double compressed cobblestone. We're going to go ahead and connect this all along with the same trigger, and by the time we look over here, it's already done. Okay, so it is very quick to do this, and therefore we now have compressed cobblestone. So let's just real quick give you a quick example of how this is going to work normally. Go ahead, Cole. You go ahead and burn on. All right, we go out, we go down, we go mining. We go down, and, you know, we find, oh, coal, sweet. How did I miss that before? So anyway, we go ahead and we mine a bunch of course, I'm looking to get cobblestone, and the first thing I do is run into gravel. That sounds about right, doesn't it? All right, so we're going to go through this wall, and look at that, we're gathering a bunch of cobblestone. So we go through, we mine a bunch, we get a bunch of cobblestone, and it's like, you know, my inventory is clogged with cobblestone. Let's go, ooh, Rocky Hive, got to remember that. Okay, so you just get back from mining, you're overladen with cobblestone, so you walk upstairs, you go over here to this barrel, and you say, here, take my excess cobblestone. Okay, so all the cobblestone is now gone out of your inventory, and by the time you look over here, it's already completely compressed. Done, done, and done. So you have very little cobblestone to worry about, and you are good to go. So Obviously, 43 million cobblestone, we're not going to do all that through mining, so we're going to automate the creation of cobblestone, and we might even make it a really fast way to create cobblestone. But we'll worry about that next episode. So until then, this is Journitis signing off on episode 11 of my Let's Play series. Like me if you like me, subscribe if you want to see what I get into next, and as always, help spread the gaming!